Greetings, one and all, and welcome to episode number 46 of Thoughts and Hunches, making money in bunches and sucker punches. Your boy Stoney is back for the 46th time. Welcome to season 2, episode 13. I'd like to welcome my fellow hustlers, cheats, hoodlums, lowlife, scumbags, fienders, degenerates. You're all back, and you know why? Because all I do is deliver winners in your lap every single week, nonstop. Last week was episode 12 of the season. 9 winning weeks, 3 losing weeks. Not too bad. Not too bad. 22-19 isn't the world's greatest week, but we will absolutely take it. The numbers, before we get into the picks for this week, the numbers from last week. NCAA, 10-7, NCAA football, right? Not too shabby, right? That puts us at 113, 86-2 on the season. Good for 56.78%. We're closing in on 57. Remember, I told you that's the number I was shooting for after that miserable start I got off to. Very close. Another good week here, and we could be there, right? Because we got conference championships next week beginning, so shit's about to get real, right? This is basically the last week of the regular season. There are some more games next week. You got the Army-Navy game. You got conference championships. There's still plenty of action to get down on NCAA football-wise before before bowl season begins. So anyway, 56.78% NCAA last week. 6-8 in the NFL. That was the ouch right there. Not too shabby in the morning. The afternoon just buried us. We went 1-2 in the afternoon, lost the Sunday night game, lost the Monday night game, and the losses just kept mounting. 6-8, certainly not good. 81-52 on the season though. Good for 60.9%. Want to keep that above 60. That would be really cool, but it's just so difficult to hit 60% of NFL. But that's where we sit on the season there. NCAA basketball last week, 6-4. Bounced back from the 4-6 rough week 1 start. So we're now 10-10, right at 50% on the season. We got 10 more for you this tonight, basically for tomorrow on Thanksgiving Day. So anyway, 22-19 last week. Overall for the season, 209 wins, 148 losses, 2 ties, 58.54%. That's top notch. That doesn't even count the winners that I gave you in October for MLB baseball because I'm not counting those. I was just handing those out, and they were just delivering. Series winners, daily winners, ridiculous. Anyway, 58.54%. Normally at this time, I go on a rant or a sports take that I have for the week, but I've got a shit ton of picks this week, and I don't have time for that. So we're going to go through these picks. We're going to go through these picks pretty quick because there are a lot of them. And we're going to start with NCAA football as usual. These games are basically going the next 3 days, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Okay, you all ready? Here we go. Thanksgiving Day. I got 2 games for you in NCAA football. We'll start in the Mountain West Conference. Fresno and San Jose State in Stone Jose, California. South Bay represent. Fresno -7.5 at San Jose State. San Jose State got off to a pretty good start and was looking like they could be a sort of dangerous under-the-radar team in the Mountain West, but they've lost 3 out of 5. They kind of lost their way. Fresno's 8-3 on the other hand. They've ripped off 4 out of 5. Their only loss during that 5-game stretch was to Boise a couple weeks ago, which was inexplicable. Boise's a good team, don't get me wrong, but Fresno's a better team, and Fresno lost to Boise. Well, now they're headed to San Jose State. They know they need this one. This is a rivalry game, and Fresno is the much better team, and we're going to lay the 7.5. We're going to take the Bulldogs. Fresno -7.5. Moving on to tomorrow night, Thanksgiving night, Thursday night, the Egg Bowl. The Golden Egg Bowl from Mississippi. 7:30 p.m. in the SEC. Mississippi State is at home in Starkville against Ole Miss. Mississippi State 1.5 point favorites. Ole Miss is 9-2. Lane Kiffin, mad props. He's done a great job down there. in Oxford and turned that program around. They've won 4 out of 5. They've won 3 in a row. They did lose, or they won 3 since they lost Auburn last month. And they've got everything working right now. Offensively, they're scoring a lot of points, and the defense is slowly and steadily improving. Mississippi State, on the other hand, is 7-4. They've ripped off 4 out of 5. The last 2 weeks, they beat Auburn, right? Who beat Ole Miss, and last week they beat LSU. Well, I mean, or 2 weeks ago they beat LSU. I mean, that's really not a big deal because everybody beats LSU. The Chinese Bandits are shit. So Mississippi State beat them, and Mississippi State's going to beat Ole Miss. They're going to take the Egg Bowl. So I like what Leach has done down in Starkville. They're 7-4. You got both Ole Miss schools are going to wind up with a lot of wins this season and very, very, very successful seasons. So take Mississippi State, lay the 1.5 against Ole Miss in the Egg Bowl. Now we head to Friday. Lot of action on Friday. Friday's one of my favorite days of the year, the day after Thanksgiving. Y'all call it Black Friday. I call it Get Paid Friday. Right? Y'all are out spending your money. I'm making money on Friday. Friday at noon, Big 12 action in Austin. The Texas Longhorns are 3-point favorites inexplicably over K-State. This could be the trapdoor game of the week. Texas is 4-7. They've lost 6 in a row since that their blow up against Oklahoma in the Red River shootout. Sark's on the hot seat. Texas is a mess. They're saying Sark might even not last, or he will last this year, but he might not see season 2 in Austin. That's not a good sign. But they're 3-point favorites. So that could be the trap door. K-State, on the other hand, is 7-4. They did lose last week to Baylor, but there's certainly nothing wrong with that. And that was following a 4-game winning streak. So K-State's got it going on right now. I'm going to take the 3, period. I mean, Texas has to show me something, and they haven't shown me anything in 2 months. 3 months. 6 in a row they've lost. 2 months, we'll say. Anyway, take K-State, take the points. That's the dog. Another Friday game at noon in the Mountain West Conference in Stone Diego, California. San Diego State 1.5-point favorites against Boise. Boise is 7-4, having a good season. They turned it around. They've won 4 straight after being 3-4 and having a losing record, and everyone figuring what the hell's going on with Boise. This is unlike them. Well, this ain't the Mountain West Conference when Chris Peterson was there 5 years ago, and Boise State was dominating. Boise State's a very good team, and they're starting to get hot now. But San Diego State comes in, ranked 21st in the nation. They're 10-1. They lost to Fresno last month, but they've won 3 since, and San Diego State will run the ball, and they will run the ball, and I think they're going to run the ball. They're going to run the ball all over Boise State. Boise doesn't have the friendly confines of the Smurf turf. They're playing this one in Stone Diego, so I like Stone Diego State -1.5. Take the Aztecs. Also Friday, 1:30 p.m., Big Ten action. Iowa at Nebraska in Lincoln. This one has the makings of a good matchup, believe it or not. Now, Nebraska's 3-8. They've lost 5 straight. I get that, right? And they've lost 7 out of 8 and 5 in a row. And Taylor Martinez, their quarterback, who's got to be about 28 years old, he's been there for a decade, it seems like, in Lincoln, is not the answer. The best thing for Nebraska is for Taylor Martinez to graduate, move on, so Scott Frost can start over. But anyway, Nebraska's a mess. Iowa comes in ranked 16th in the nation. They've now got, they're 9-2, and they've won 3 in a row. That was following their 2-game losing streak when they were undefeated. But they're still hanging in there, and they're tough, and they've covered their last 2, and they're starting to put up more points. So I like Iowa. I'm going to lay the 1.5 at Nebraska. Friday, 3:30 p.m., the American Athletic Conference. This one is in Greenville, North Carolina. Yeah, when's the last time you all been down to Greenville? Well, I've never been to Greenville. But anyway, Cincinnati comes in. Cincinnati, 14th ranked Cincinnati is a 14-point chalk at ECU. East Carolina's having a good year. They're 7-4. They're definitely bowl eligible. They've won 4 straight, and they got all systems going right now. But they're playing Cincinnati, who may be ranked 4th or 14. I think I wrote that wrong. They're 4th. They're now in the college football playoff. We know that. And yeah, they're 4th. They're not 14th. That was obviously a typo. But they're number 4. They're in the college football playoff, and they know all they got to do now is win out. Doesn't even matter if they're close games right now. They don't need style points. All they need to do is win, and they are in the college football playoffs, because whoever loses the big Ohio State-Michigan game on Saturday is going to be out. We know that. Unless it's Ohio State, but even still, they're going to probably be out too, because 2 losses against an undefeated team. No. Cincinnati's in. All they got to do is keep winning. They're 14-point chalk here. I'm going to lay them all. ECU's a good team. Like I said, they've won 4 in a row, but Cincinnati is the play here. Their defense is way too talented and way too fast. Moving on to the Big 12, Ames, Iowa. Iowa State is hosting TCU. Iowa State is a 14.5-point favorite. Big number for the 6-5 Cyclones. But they've lost 3 out of 4. Their defense is struggling. All of a sudden, there's gaping holes in their defense, and they're allowing a lot of numbers. That's not a good sign against TCU. TCU's 5-6. We all know about the dismissal of Gary Patterson and how bad it made TCU look. But TCU's now won 2 out of 3. They've won 3 out of 5, and they're starting to score, right? So I like TCU. 14.5 is a big number. Iowa State wins. TCU covers. Friday night, 7 p.m., ACC action in Raleigh. This is rivalry week, so get used to games like this. North Carolina versus North Carolina State. The 20th ranked Wolfpack are at home. 5.5-point shock against the Tar Heels. UNC 6-5. They win, they lose, they win, they lose, they win, they lose. They won last week, so they're going to lose this week. NC State is 8-3. They've won 3 out of 4. NC State's won 3 out of 4. They're playing better, and they're starting to get things going. They did lose out of that one loss during that 4-week stretch was against Wake Forest, and that was crazy game, and Wake beat them by 3, and that's not a bad loss by any means. But NC State's 8-3. They've had a hell of a season, and they're going to continue. Lay the 5.5 in the rivalry game against Carolina. Friday night, 8 p.m., Pac-12 action, the Apple Cup. We move up to the Pacific Northwest. Washington versus Washington State in Seattle. Washington is at home, and Washington State comes in as 1.5-point chalk. Washington's 4-7, and they've lost 3 straight. Their season's a mess. Their team's a mess. They're not going to get into a bowl. Washington State is already bowl eligible for some strange reason. They seem to be better now than they were with Rolovich, the head coach that they fired. Well, Washington State is 6-5. They won 2 out of 3. They won 3 out of 5. And they're simply the better team, especially defensively. So I'm going to take Washington State here in the rivalry game. I'm going to lay the 1.5 and watch Washington State dance. Now we move on to Saturday. Saturday, noon Eastern time. ACC action up in Chestnut Hill. 18th ranked Wake Forest comes in as 4.5-point chalk against Boston College. Wake is 9-2. They were 7-0, but now they've lost 2 out of 3 all of a sudden. Last week they lost to Clemson pretty badly. Clemson beat them up, cost me. I had Wake. BC, on the other hand, is 6-5. Last week they lost to Florida State, cost me. But they had 1 2 straight before that. BC runs the ball. They're tougher at home, and I'm going to take the 4.5. Wake may win this one, but it's going to be a tight one. It's going to be a really good one, and I'm looking forward to this one. But I'm going to take BC plus the 4.5 at home on Saturday. Moving on to Saturday, to the big matchup of the day, of the weekend, probably. This is the biggest matchup of the weekend. Ohio State versus Michigan in Ann Arbor at the Big House. Michigan, 5th ranked in the nation, is hosting Ohio State, number 2 ranked in the nation. 8.5-point chalk are the Buckeyes because Jim Harbaugh has never beaten Ohio State, whether it was Urban Meyer, Ryan Day, doesn't matter. Harbaugh, this is a statement game for Harbaugh. It's also a statement game for Ohio State. A lot of people are thinking right now that Ohio State might be the only team that can really give Georgia a game. But Ohio State is 8.5-point favorites. Michigan is 10-1. Their only loss was to Michigan State last month. Inexplicable loss, which I had Michigan State, but that cost them a number 2 ranking right now because they should be 11-0, but they lost to Michigan State. On the flip side, Ohio State's 10-1. They've won 9 straight since they lost to Oregon. They're cruising. I see no reason to think this is going to go any differently, especially the way Ohio State's played the last couple weeks, routing teams, putting up big numbers. I realize Michigan's got a very good defense, and it's going to be hard to put up 50 points against them, but you're not going to need to score 50 to beat Michigan and cover the 8.5. So I'm going to take Ohio State and lay the lumber in the big game. Saturday also at noon in Gainesville, Florida State versus Florida. Florida State is 2.5-point dogs against Florida. Florida's 5-6. They've lost 4 out of 5. Their only win during that stretch was Samford. Even in that Samford game, they scored 70 points, but they allowed 55 points to Samford. Yes. Then last week was embarrassing loss to Missouri, which wound up costing Dan Mullen his job, so he's out. Florida State, on the other hand, is 5-6. They've won 2 in a row. They've won 3 out of 5. They turned their season around, and a win here makes them bowl eligible. I'm taking Florida State catching 2.5 at Florida. This is going to be a good game, but I think Florida State pulls it out and wins. Take Florida State outright, or just take them plus the 2.5 like I'm going to do. Saturday at noon in the Big 12 in Waco, Texas. Another rivalry game. Baylor versus Texas Tech. 8th-ranked Baylor is at home, laying 14.5, big number to the Red Raiders. Texas Tech is 6-5, but on the other hand, they've lost 3 out of 4. They were shut out last week against Oklahoma State. Baylor, on the other hand, is 5 out of 6. They lost, and their only loss during that stretch was to TCU by 2 points. So Baylor's playing their best ball of the season right now, and I just don't see Texas Tech keeping up. Lay the 14.5 and take the Bears. Another noon game on Saturday. This one in the AAC, the good old American Athletic, in East Hartford. When's the last time y'all been to East Hartford? Yep. Connecticut is at home, and they're the worst team in college football, arguably. They're 1-10. Their only win of the season was last month against Yale, and they're 32.5-point underdogs to Houston. Houston's 10-1. Their only loss was in week 1 to Texas Tech. Since then, they've ripped off 10 straight. They're cruising. They're scoring big numbers. But can they cover 32.5? I say yes. Lay them. Take Houston. Lay the 32.5. Saturday, 3:30 p.m. Back to the Big Ten. East Lansing is the site here as Penn State comes in. 1.5-point favorites over 12th-ranked Michigan State. Michigan State's 9-2, but they have lost 2 out of 3, and they were absolutely humiliated last week by Ohio State. And that was the key game because even a decent showing against Ohio State would have shown they were for real, and it just happened to be the same week that they gave Mel Tucker a huge extension worth a lot of years and a lot of money. But they turned around and laid an egg against Ohio State, and now they're playing Penn State, a team that just gave James Franklin a long extension, not as rich as Mel Tucker's, but James Franklin has the resume of winning. He's got Penn State 7-4. They've won 2 out of 3. I like Penn State in this spot. They may have lost 3 out of their last 5, but they've won 2 out of 3, and they seem to have kind of got things going again. And Michigan State, I don't know if they have it in their psyche to bounce back after last week. So I'm going to take Penn State. I'm going to lay the 1.5 on the road. Saturday, 3:30 p.m., Eugene, Oregon, the Civil War in the Pac-12. Oregon State goes in to face number 11 Oregon. Oregon is 7-point favorites. Oregon is 9-2, but they had the embarrassing loss last week against Utah. They put everything they had into that game, and they got blown out at Rice Eccles in Salt Lake Stony. Well, Oregon had won 5 in a row up to that, but now they got losses to Stanford and to Utah, and they're going to win this game, don't get me wrong, but Oregon State's going to cover it. Oregon State's 7-4. They've won 3 out of 5. They beat Utah and lost to Cal, which was inexplicable, because anybody that loses to Cal ought to just be bitch slapped. Anybody that roots for Cal ought to be bitch slapped. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Oregon State plus the 7 in the Civil War. I like the Beavers. Saturday, 3:30 p.m., SEC football. Saturdays in the South. The 3 F's, baby. Faith, family, and football. That's what it's all about. Well, this one is on the Plains. It's the Iron Bowl, and it's the biggie. This is the one that everyone talks about every year. Some call it the best rivalry. I wouldn't go that far, but this is a huge rivalry. Bama, 3rd ranked, 19.5-point favorites, heads to the Plains to play Auburn. Auburn 6-5, but they've lost 3 in a row. Bo Nix is out. They're not playing well. They're really struggling. Sorry, didn't get that right. Bama, on the other hand, is 10-1. They've won 5 in a row since they lost to A&M. Last week, they had a scare, and their defense may not be as good as it has been in the past, but Auburn's a mess right now. I like Alabama in this one. I like everything about Alabama. I know it's a rivalry game, and 19.5 points in the Iron Bowl seems kind of ludicrous, but I'm going to lay them. I'm going to take Bama and lay the 19.5. Moving on, Knoxville, Tennessee, about 3 hours east of here. Neyland Stadium. We got Tennessee versus Vanderbilt. All right, the battle of the state of Tennessee. Tennessee's 31.5-point chalk. Tennessee's 6-5. They've won 2 out of 3, but they've lost 3 out of 5 also. Vandy, on the other hand, is 2-9. They're a train wreck. They've lost 6 in a row. Their only wins this season have come against UConn and Colorado State. Now, let's be perfectly honest here. They have no shot of winning this game. None. 0. None. But I like the points. I'm going to take the points. 31.5. Please. Score 1 touchdown, and you got the game covered. I like Vandy plus the 31.5. Saturday, 4 p.m., Stoneyappolis, Minnesota is the site of the battle for Paul Bunyan's axe. I love this matchup, always have. 14th ranked Wisconsin heads to Stoneyappolis, a 6.5-point chalk to take on the Golden Gophers. Wisconsin's 8-3. They've now won 7 in a row, and they've covered 4 out of those 5 after that miserable 1-3 start where they they couldn't score. Minnesota, on the other hand, is 7-4. They've won 3 out of 5. They lost to Iowa. They lost to Illinois during that at home, which was just a really bad loss. I like Minnesota in this one. I think Wisconsin wins, but Minnesota gets the cover. I'm going to take the points with the Golden Gophers catching 6.5. Saturday night, 7 p.m., more SEC football down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, I'm going to call it, because that's what it is. It's Louisiana. That's what they do. They lose down there. A&M comes in 15th ranked, 6-point chalk against LSU. LSU's 5-6. They've lost 3 straight. They're just a mess. Let's face it. They won last week. They beat Louisiana Monroe, but they didn't cover the big number because they don't cover. That's LSU. The Chinese Bandits are shit. We all know that. Texas A&M is 8-3. They've won 5 out of 6. Their only loss during that time was to Ole Miss. Nothing wrong with losing to a 9-2 team. I'm going to take A&M. I'm going to lay the 6 and watch LSU get banked. Do I want to take LSU? No. No Tigers. Not this week. Absolutely not. Moving on. Mayhem. Saturday night, 7:30 p.m. in the Big 12. Stillwater, Oklahoma is the site of mayhem. Oklahoma, 10th ranked Sooners come in to face the 7th ranked Cowboys of Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State is 4-point chalk in this one. When's the last time they were ranked higher than Oklahoma? Well, we got it this time. OU is 10-1. They lost 2 weeks ago to Baylor. They're playing well, but they're not playing that well, right? They did bounce back last week with a win over Iowa State. Oklahoma State, on the other hand, is also 10-1. Their loss was last month to Iowa State. And right now, Oklahoma State is the play. They're playing really well defensively. They're running the ball, and Oklahoma doesn't really have an identity. So I'm going to take the Cowboys and lay the 4 in mayhem. Saturday night, 10:30 p.m. in L.A., the L.A. Mausoleum. 13th ranked BYU comes in as 7-point chalk at USC. USC's 4-6. They've lost 4 out of 5. BYU not only is 9-2 and has won 4 straight, but they're 4-0 this year against the Pac-12. They're going to win, and they're going to win big. And don't be surprised if they hammer USC, kind of like UCLA did last week. Speaking of UCLA, Saturday night, 10:30 p.m., Pasadena is the site, the Rose Bowl, for the Degenerate Special. The Degenerate Special hasn't been kind to us. We did hit it last week, but it hasn't really been that kind to us this season. UCLA is 6.5-point chalk against Cal. Cal is a mess. Cal's 4-6. They've lost 3 out of 5. UCLA, on the other hand, is 7-4. They've won 3 out of 5, and their only losses were to the 2 best teams in the Pac-12, Utah and Oregon, at that point. So I like UCLA. I'm going to lay the 6.5. in the Degenerate Special against Cal, because Cal is Cal, and they're a mess. So there's 24 NCAA football picks for you. 24. Free. Who gives you that? That's right. Stoney does. Your boy. So we're going to move on now to the NFL, and the NFL starts tomorrow. Thanksgiving Day. 3 games on Thanksgiving Day. Turkey Day. And it starts with the ultimate turkey. Detroit versus Chicago. Ouch. How can the NFL actually schedule this mess and make us all watch it? Why? Because there's money on the streets that can't be ignored, and people need action. So we're going to get down on it. I like Detroit. They're 0-9-1. They're 3-point dogs against Chicago. Chicago's only 3-7. Andy Dalton's going to start. They're a mess. I like Detroit. Take the 3. They might even win this one. They might pull it out and get their first win of the season. The afternoon game tomorrow, Dallas, 7-3 Cowboys are at home hosting the Raiders. The Raiders are 5-5. They're a disaster right now. They've lost 3 in a row since I proclaimed Las Vegas and New Orleans as the 2 worst 5-2 teams I'd ever seen. Since then, both teams have lost 3 in a row. Dallas, on the other hand, they're 7-3. They've been up and down the last couple weeks, but this one shouldn't be even close. Dallas is going to hang 40 plus on the Raiders, and the Raiders just won't be able to keep up. Take Dallas, lay the 7.5. The night game on Thanksgiving is Buffalo heading to New Orleans to take on the Saints, who I just talked about when I said they were overrated. They've lost 3 in a row. Buffalo's 6-4. They've struggled down the last 3 weeks, not playing well at all. And they're 6-point chalk. I like the Saints in this spot. Buffalo wins, but the Saints keep it close. Buffalo might even win it with a late field goal. But I'm going to take the 6 here and take the dome dog and roll with the Saints. Sunday, we move on. And we start with New England and Tennessee. This one's up in Foxborough. Tennessee's 8-3, and they were really exposed last week for being the frauds that they are, as Houston came into Nashville and beat the shit out of Tennessee. The final score was no reflection on how badly Tennessee played. Now they got to go up and play the hottest team in the NFL, and that's New England. Everybody likes New England. I'm going to take New England. Usually I would go the other way in this direction because I take more dogs than the SPCA. That's right. I'm your boy if you like dogs. Well, not in this situation. I'm going to take New England. I'm going to lay the 6.5. Moving on, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, AFC North matchup. Cincinnati 6-4. They're at home. They're hosting Pittsburgh. The Steelers are 5-4-1. Cincinnati's 4.5-point chalk at home. I like Pittsburgh. I'm going to take the number here. I think Cincinnati wins, but Pittsburgh covers. This will be a close game, and it'll be a good game. Indianapolis versus Tampa. Tampa's 7-3. They got the big win the other day. The other night, I should say, of the big win. I mean, they beat the Giants. Okay, but now they're on a short week. They got to go up to Indy and play a red-hot Indianapolis team right now. Tampa's 7-3. Indy's 6-4. I'm going to take, again, the dome dog here and take the Colts at home plus the 3 because Jonathan Taylor is just out of his freaking mind right now. Carolina heads to Miami to take on the Dolphins. Carolina's 5-6. They're 1.5-point chalk. I'm going to take them over the 4-7 Dolphins. Yeah, just because. Well, they played well last week. Their defense didn't play so well, and that's what cost them. But Cam Newton really played well last week, and it wasn't his fault they lost. Anyway, take Carolina, lay the 1.5. Philadelphia versus New York Giants. Philly heads to the Snoopy Dome, or the Snoopy Stadium over there in Jersey. Philly's red hot. The Giants are not. Philly's 5-6. The Giants are 3-7. I like the Phillies. I like the Eagles. Lay 3.5 and take the Eagles. Moving on, Jacksonville versus Atlanta. Here's the dog game of the week. Just two absolute dogs. Well, since they're two dogs, I'm going to take the dog. I like Jacksonville. They're 2-8. They're at home. They're getting 1 point from Atlanta, who's 4-6. Atlanta's a mess. Jacksonville, they got beaten up by the Niners last week, but the Niners are clearly better. Atlanta's not. I like Jacksonville. I like Jacksonville to win this game and move to 3-8. Denver against the LA Chargers. The Chargers head into Denver after that wild game the other night where the Chargers and Steelers combined for 41 points in the fourth quarter. And the Chargers got the win, not the cover, cost me. They got the win to move to 6-4. Denver's 5-5, and they're 3-point dogs. I'm going to take the home dog here and take Denver because the Chargers are going to charger it up. Green Bay versus the Rams in Lambeau. Green Bay's 8-3. The Rams are 7-3. Green Bay's a 1-point favorite. This could be called the game of the week for those of you that are all about Matt Stafford versus Aaron Rodgers. Screw them both. Rodgers' toe is a serious concern. Stafford has some proving to do. The Rams are coming off of a bye after getting blown out by the Niners. I like the Rams in this spot to go into Lambeau and leave with the win. Take the Rams. 5-5 49ers are at home hosting the 5-5 Vikings. May not seem like much, but this is a classic matchup of two teams that have faced each other many, many times over the years, many times in the playoffs over the years. The 49ers seem to have got their mojo back. Minnesota can score. John Jefferson is just a freaking ridiculous superstar. But the Niners, on the other hand, right now they got their running game going. Their defense is playing better. It's tightened up. I like the Niners. I'm going to lay the 3 at home against the Vikings. Sunday night, Cleveland heads into Baltimore. Another good matchup, AFC North. Cleveland 6-5, Baltimore 7-3, and at home laying 3.5. I like Cleveland. I'm going to roll with the Brownies here, plus 3.5. Monday night, with the Washington football team at home hosting the Seahawks. The Seahawks are a total disaster. Until they prove they can win, I'm going to keep betting against them. They're 3-7. They ain't going to win this time. I'm going to take the 4-6 Giants, who seem to have some of that Heineke magic right now. They're 4-6. Take Washington minus 1.5 on Monday night. Yeah, that's the best the NFL can give us on Monday night is Washington versus Seattle. Ugh, God. Well, there's all 14 NFL plays for you for this weekend. Now we move on, finally, to the rapid fire round, which is college basketball on Thanksgiving Day. Keep in mind there are 4 Battle for Atlantis games going on tomorrow. The lines have not been posted yet. I could have waited 2 hours to put this out, and there would be lines up, but I'm not going to bet any of those games because there are no lines yet. Well, some of the games are still going on, and we got to wait until they finish before lines get posted. But anyway, no Battle for Atlantis. Here we go tomorrow. Now, I'm not going to tell you who the home team is or the road team because The majority of these games are played at neutral sites. That's what happens during the holidays. They don't want somebody going on the road and playing a game on the road, so everybody goes to a neutral site and plays in one of these tournaments. Anyway, noon Eastern time. I'm taking Dayton plus 5.5 over Miami, Florida. If you like dogs, listen to me now. There's one dog, Dayton. 1:30 p.m. South Alabama plus 3.5 against San Diego, the Toreros. I like South Alabama plus 3.5. Take the Jags. That's dog number 2. 2:30 p.m. Kansas 14.5 point favorites over North Texas. Guess what? I like the mean green. I like North Texas. I'm going to take the 14.5. Kansas wins. North Texas covers. That's three straight dogs for that ass. 5 p.m. Iowa versus Alabama. Alabama's hot, playing well. Or did I say Iowa? I meant Iona faces Alabama. Alabama's 12.5 point favorites. But keep in mind, Iona, Rick Pitino has the undefeated Gales facing Alabama here. I'm going to take Rick Pitino in this and take the 12.5. That's dog number 4 in a row. Moving on, 7 p.m. UAB versus New Mexico, two undefeated teams. UAB's playing very well. They're 13.5 point chalk. I like New Mexico, the Lobos. That's dog number 5 in a row. 7 p.m. Maryland versus Richmond. Maryland's got a loss. Richmond has a loss. Maryland's 1.5 point favorites. I'm going to take Richmond plus 1.5. That's dog number 6 in a row. Moving on, 7:30 p.m. Drake versus Belmont. 2 of my favorite mid-majors. Drake, 2.5 point favorites over Belmont, which is right down the street. I'm going to take Belmont. That's dog number 7 in a row. 9:30 p.m. Mississippi State versus Louisville. This is going to be a good matchup. Ben Howland's turned it around in Mississippi State. He's got it going on. I like Mississippi State in this one. I'm going to lay 1.5. There's a favorite for you. How's that? 1 out of 7 so far. The last 2 games on the board tomorrow night, 9:30 p.m. St. Joseph's versus USC. USC's 18.5 point favorites. No way, not a chance in hell. St. Joe's covers the 18.5. That's dog number 8. 8 out of 9. And finally, the final game on the board, midnight Eastern time on Thanksgiving night, San Diego State versus Georgetown. I like San Diego State in this one. It's 5.5 point chalk. So that's 2 favorites out of 10 NCAA basketball games I just gave you. So there you go. How's that? 24 college football games, 14 NFL games, 10 NCAA basketball games, 48 free picks for you to play with and go crazy over this weekend. This is one of my favorite weekends of the year. I love Feast Week. Love everything about it. 27 wins is what we're shooting for on the low end, up to 32, maybe 33. The more wins, the merrier. But let's get hot, let's make some money, and let's feast. Finally, I'd like to remind you all that in order to win big, you gotta bet big. There's money on the streets that can't be ignored. To me, the action is the juice. And good luck to you. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Have a good one.